All right. Hello, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this live stream from Savvy, where we are going to talk to Roberto Serrallés about 5 simple things to make your distillery more environmentally sustainable. So my name is Will Hookinga from AmericanRumReport.com. And as I said, I'm here, as you can see down there at the bottom of the screen with Roberto Serrallés, who I'll give a more formal introduction to in a moment. But first, Roberto, how are you today? How is everything down there in Puerto Rico?
I'm good. I'm great. Things are, locked down in Puerto Rico.
Right.
We've taken this situation quite seriously. I mean, it's always been kind of it's strange times, but I'm happy to be at least in a virtual community of friends here. I miss people,
Right.
but we are in a very serious sort of situation. So, but things are moving along, as we
For
say, one day at a
sure.
time. Yep.
For sure. And I think, as things are serious, it is nice able to get a chance to hang out together safely, virtually at a distance. As Carolus said over there in the chat, hey, Rum Fam. Hello, everyone. So we're going to get started in just a minute. But first, I want to go over the agenda with everyone real quick. So first of all, if you look on your screen, you'll see a chat window and a question box down there. So you can use the chat throughout the presentation to, say anything you want to say, tell us how you're doing, where you're from. But if you have a question for Roberto, click the question box and you can type it in there and send it our way, because later on, Roberto is going to take some time to answer your questions, and that's the best way to make sure we see it. And also, before we get started, we would love for you to share this event with your friends and invite them to join in with us. So there's a share button in there in the window. You can share to Facebook, Twitter, get the link, tell your friends to hop on and join. The agenda for today. Hey, Johnny Verplank's here. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? So today we're going to spend about 30 to 40 minutes talking about sustainability as it pertains to distilleries, things distilleries can do. Roberto's going to share a lot of his experience with Serralles Distillery. It sounds like you're uncorking some rum over there, Roberto. Were you?
I'm preempting the rum. I just saw the rum o'clock. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's already time for the rum. And then after the presentation, we're going to take 15 to 20 minutes to do a little Q&A. We call it our rum o'clock Q&A here. So we like to uncork or untwist a bottle of rum. We don't discriminate on rum bottle types here, and sip some rum and talk about it. So Roberto, so to get things started, I want to, give people a little information about who you are. Obviously, they may have put 2 and 2 together and seen, the name Serrallés on the distillery and that your last name is Serrallés, so they may have connected the two. But I know there's a bigger story there about your background and relationship with the distillery. So can you tell us about your experience and kind of your role with the distillery?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, or good evening if you're in Europe. It's really great to be here, at least on a virtual basis. Today should be a lot of fun. Just a little parentheses from all the craziness going on around us, so we can
Absolutely.
chat a little bit about rum and other things, and get our minds off the other darker, bigger issues. But anyway,
and how you're saving the environment.
Right. Well, we gotta see what we can do.
Yeah.
So my name is Roberto Serrallés, and I am a 6th generation rum maker. Yes, as the last name says, my great grandfather came from Spain, set up a small sugar operation in Ponce, which is on the Caribbean side. It's pointed there in the map. It's on the south coast of the island of Puerto Rico.
Right.
And he started a small sugar operation, and basically, after some time, when you make a lot of sugar, you basically ended up with a lot of molasses. So my great grandfather then bought a copper still from France, actually, a small column still, not a pot still. And he brought it over from France and started making some rum in 1865. So our rum making tradition spans about 155 years this year.
Wow.
Which is pretty remarkable. And, we're still family owned. And family members still work in the distillery. It was family managed until very recently, which is actually pretty remarkable. 6 generations family business.
It's very rare. Very rare.
Indeed. Actually, it's one of the oldest. We're one of the oldest under the U.S. flag in the U.S. One of the oldest
Right.
sort of family-run, owned and run operations. So,
Yeah.
so that's very exciting. And I never ever thought I'd get into the business. It was one of those things. My dad was the president of the company, and I really had an inkling for academia. I am a
Ah,
kind of teacher at heart. And I, went through college and my undergraduate, and I got a master's degree in teaching. And then I decided I wanted to teach university. So then I went to the University of Oregon
go
and got my
Ducks.
Go Ducks. And I was just reading that Sabrina Nescu just got named, basketball player of
Yeah,
the
she's
year. She's
like one of the greatest college players of all time now. It's amazing.
amazing, amazing, and we can just have a whole chat about the Ducks, but we won't digress. But yeah, Go Ducks.
That'll be part two.
Um,
We'll have to have you back.
right, right. So anyway, to finish that story, so I basically, literally, I am working on my PhD. I wanted to teach university, and it was in environmental studies, doing stuff on renewable energy policy and things of this nature. My father calls me one day and says, "Hey, we have this environmental issue at the distillery. I know you're studying environmental stuff." It kind of went kind of like that. Wondering, if you were be available to help out with this. And I was like, wow, actually, I'm what was called ABD. I'm just, all about dissertation. I'm just working on my dissertation, living in Seattle, and basically, I said, sure. So I started traveling to Puerto Rico and helping out in a wastewater-to-energy project, which I'll talk to you a little bit about later. But that was
Yeah.
basically, I came in through the kitchen, so to speak. Actually, I came in through the dumpster. I came in through the non-glamorous side of rum making, which is the wastewater, and all that kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff. So I started from the back end, and then eventually, continued to work there for they offered me a job, and then before I knew it, 15 years later, I was running some commercial operations, government affairs, business development, that kind of stuff. So I still
Right.
I still work on the business of development side of things and some government affairs issues for the
Mm,
distillery, product development, and I do some brand ambassador work on the side. So anyway,
that's
that's
great.
how I'm still enjoying it. It's a really exciting group of people. It's a family of people working, very passionate about making rum, and all we do is make rum. We're not a
Right.
whiskey company that has a rum brand. It's all about rum.
That's what we like here. So yeah, that's so fascinating, and we're going to get to sort of your five practical recommendations for distilleries in a moment. But first, sustainability to me is one of those words that like everyone hears it and kind of knows what it is, knows it's something good, knows it's something that we should like care about and be doing. But it's one of those concepts that we don't really, most people, and when I say most people, I'm including myself, don't have a firm grasp of like, what do we actually mean when we talk about sustainability? So I wanted to start there with you. What does
Sure.
sustainability actually mean?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great place to start. Basically, what is this whole concept of sustainability? And I think, as you say, it is a concept that's been thrown around quite a bit.
Right.
It is a marketer's delight now. It's like somehow you tag on to this. So, and that there's a risk to all of that. I mean, I think sustainability is a much deeper sort of process. If you ask, Merriam-Webster's definition of sustainability is basically something along the sides of like, ability to maintain something ongoing, something that can continue for a long period of time. So when we
Hmm.
think about sustainability, it really is about this notion of, what is the actions that we do today? How does it help the planet sustain itself for the long haul? And that's really what it is. It's not the problem is that, in the years past, we had sort of environmental initiatives, say, let's recycling. That's an environmental initiative.
Right.
It's a great initiative, et cetera. But it is just that. It's not the same as sustainability, because sustainability would be how do we reduce, in the three R's,
Hmm.
reduce,
Reduce,
reuse,
reuse,
recycle.
recycle. Getting
It's actually
flashbacks to elementary school.
so all those things are environmental initiatives. Now sustainability would be like how do we just not even get to the first R? You know,
Ah, okay.
it's
Uh-huh.
it's reusing, really the very first R, reusing, and how do we like minimize use? Period.
Right.
That's the question. I mean, I think we all know a lot about. It's best to explain it one way. We all know and love our friends yeast. Yeast is a wonderful wonderful microorganism that, in fact, all of us are in the spirits industry would not have an industry if it wasn't for yeast. The ability to convert sugars into alcohol. Well,
Hmm.
yeast is an example of a non-sustainable organism. What happens if you put yeast in a fermentation vat? It just goes to town, and it will make so much. It'll consume so much
Right.
that it will actually drown in its own excrement, in its own
Very
feces. So,
greedy. It can't
you
control
know,
itself, that
very good.
yeast.
Absolutely. So that's a non-sustainable sort of behavior. So when we're talking about sustainability, it's the opposite. It's like, how do we consume waste in a responsible way so that we always can have something as we move forward into the future? And that means, things like waste don't exist in that paradigm of sustainability, because a waste would become a useful thing for something that you can use in the future.
Right.
So anyway, along those lines, just to one final example, but like for example, it's a great initiative right now to use paper straws. And say, hey, that's great. Is that a sustainability platform? No, that's sustainability would be not using straws. Period. So
Ah,
again,
okay.
great thing to do. Not don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. It's absolutely the thing to do. If you're going to use a straw, definitely use a paper straw, not a plastic straw. But that's the sort of the difference between an environmental initiative and sustainability.
That's good. I like that. I like that distinction. That makes it easy for us everyday non-scientific people to understand. So, when talking about sustainability as it applies to the spirits industry, is there a model or a system or something like that for the spirits industry to follow?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Many times we try to overcomplicate things, and in fact, the title of this whole chat, I use the word simple on purpose. There's nothing
Right?
simple about any of this that we're talking about. In fact, it's extremely
Simple,
complicated.
simple with air
Yeah,
quotes.
and basically, I think the issue that we're trying to figure out here is when we talk about a model, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to do. We just simply need to look at the thing that surrounds us. Planet Earth, not to be sort of like this, green sort of hippie guy, but planet Earth is, and the ecology as a system is to me the ideal model when we talk about sustainability. Why? Because in that model, basically all the outputs that sustain the system become inputs. So there's no such thing as waste. The whole word waste is not a waste. It's not a word that it's a really new. Garbage and waste are fairly new words in the
Human
lexicon of
terms.
things. Yeah, in terms of human terms. So I like this notion. One of the things I studied at the university was this notion, this discipline of industrial ecology. So what the hell is industrial ecology? That sounds pretty esoteric. Well, as the word says, industrial ecology is, look, if industry is going to be part of a sustainability platform for the planet, if we're going to be part of the solution, we
Hmm.
need to adopt the principles that are very easily viewed in ecology. And that means basically zero discharge. Again, it's about reducing consumption, and anything that you actually consume and produce as an output, as a quote unquote waste stream, becomes a useful product for something else. One of the funny things about our rum industry, as opposed to, say, whiskey, for example, our rum industry, when you really truly think about it, the DNA of the rum making process is how it was basically about utilizing the waste stream from the sugar making operations. The waste stream was molasses, basically.
Right.
Molasses is what's left over when it's no longer economically viable to extract sugar from sugarcane juice. So that just becomes a waste stream. Okay, so rum was like, hey, that's a waste stream that I can actually turn it into something useful, like rum, and beautiful,
Something
and
delicious.
that, yeah, and delicious for that matter. So the DNA of our rum industry actually comes from this very crude sense of like utilizing some sort of waste stream and turning it into something of value. So that to me is the overall arching model. So I think it's best. This is actually best showed when we look at a picture of a tree, for example.
Right. And I've got that
Um,
up now on the slides if people can see this beautiful image of a tree.
all right, so you look at a tree, and again, we're talking about industrial ecology. And so when you look at a tree, you know what? It's not just a tree. A tree is many more things than just that. A tree is it's provides air, air purification of the air, turns CO2 into oxygen. It
Right.
becomes a habitat for birds, and all the what it actually its decomposition, when it drops its leaves, those become fertilizer. That becomes soil for the tree and other things to grow as well, and it stabilizes the soil. So this is a closed system. This is a kind of a closed loop system where the carbon footprint of this whole operation of a tree is zero. It's a zero discharge, and it's a zero sort of carbon closed loop. And this is the model that we need to think about when we start thinking about industry. So when you look at your business, when you think about your distillery, try to figure out, okay, a distillery is not just a distillery. How can we turn all those outputs that this distillery makes and into something useful? And what are the other sort of benefits that it creates, so that again we can create these zero discharge sort of loops and zero discharge operations. So that's how I always like this image, because it does help me kind of bring it back home.
Right.
To kind of like a little more simple sort of thinking. It's not, we don't have to overthink this thing.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like the answers are kind of all around us. You know, we have these beautiful models of it. It's just using our own creative thinking and scientific skills to figure out how to apply this to an industry, for example.
Right. No, exactly. And I think that's exciting. So that was basically what informed that was kind of the model that really, inspired us at Serralles to start looking at our operation in a way that, like, so what things can we do?
Right.
And the most important thing here about sustainability that I didn't really kind of discuss earlier was, when you talk about sustainability, don't think about sustainability as a destination. The person I hear somebody saying, hey, we got a sustainable distillery, I got sustainable operations, like, you know what? No, wrong. I don't believe in that. I believe that sustainability is really a process. It's a process, and it's a way of getting to something better. It's how we improve every day. Today, I'm just going to try to be more sustainable, and I think that's the way we got to talk about sustainability. It's not about this is why I'm sustainable. No, we're just, how are we getting better every day in order to reduce our footprint and create those zero discharge loops. So let's talk a little bit about, if it's okay with you. Kind of moving into some of the specifics,
those five very, very simple things, right?
Yeah. And again, remember that to all our friends out there, remember that there's nothing simple about all this. One of the great benefits of actually being a family-run business as opposed to a publicly traded business or a private business, is that we have long-term views in family business. I mean, we've been in operations for 155 years. We still have Christmas together. We get along. It's harder to do certain things in these other larger operations, big multinationals, and so on. There's just different pieces moving there that are not as easy to manage. So we've had the benefit of being a family business that actually, we get some flexibility in trying things out and being a little more adventurous and being a little more nimble in some of the things we do. We also don't have the armies of consultants to guide us, and make sure we don't make mistakes. We do make a lot of mistakes. We try things and they don't work, and sometimes we've got to figure out how to do them better. But again, it's what I'm trying to impress upon you here. Don't think that that sustainability is a destination. It's make it part of your daily process. Just how can I every day just do something better? How can I make that one process a little bit better? And eventually you will get there. So getting to these five simple things, again, none of them are simple, but what I wanted to show you in general, this process you see in here is a very simple process that most operations, distilleries kind of do the same thing. Our key raw materials are molasses and water. We ferment, we distill, we age in Puerto Rico. Everything has to spend at least a minimum of 1 year in a barrel.
Right.
We do some filtration for our white products, and then we do blending and bottling. And it's pretty straightforward. So as you can see in this whole operation, there's a lot of opportunities to look at your system in general from a big picture and say, okay, and take them one at a time. Start thinking about certain things. So the five things that I'm going to be talking about, it's part of this whole sort of process. Nothing outside of this process that I'm actually trying to show you a little bit about, or explain a little bit of what we're doing. So let's try. First, let's talk about where it all starts.
Raw materials, right?
Yeah, raw materials, and this one I call it. these suggestions that I'm bringing forward are not like simple things to do. They're suggestions on areas to focus your attention on. So I call this raw material optimization. You know, when we talk about rum, our two most important raw materials are water and molasses or sugarcane juice if you're doing agricole.
Right.
And so the two things that I look for in how to utilize these. The nice thing about rum, for example, is that our raw material is already somebody else's waste stream. So we are turning somebody else's waste product and utilizing that and turn it into a nice, beautiful product that has its value in the value chain, and it's delicious and it can become wonderful things. So that's really nice in and of itself.